Good.
Cool. Yeah, man.
So thank you so much for everyone for joining. I am recording at the moment, but I'm really excited.
Yeah, super excited. My name's Mario, and if you don't know, and this is Eden.
And we are we have just celebrated our first birthday as MSIZI. We're very excited about it.
Cheers.
And are really excited about just the opportunity that we have to open kind of doors and pathways for other people like us. And I think I explained in the email, but we wanted to do something called MSIZI Talks, where we speak to people who come from different sectors or spheres, and speak to them about more specifically how COVID-19 or the lockdown has totally changed the way that they do work and do life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lockdown has certainly changed our way of doing business and how we've sort of functioned as a team, and how we sort of thought about how we're going to look in the future and how we look currently in terms of our work processes, and how we've needed to pivot and just really change up and switch up our business model in a matter of like days, and sometimes it's even hours. Hours that we had to like really just rearrange our lives, and it's totally changed the trajectory. I know Eden's gonna laugh at me because I love using this word to literally change the trajectory of our lives and of our business, and it's gonna change how our future looks. So that's why we really wanted to talk, because we went through it, and it's just really good to see our friends, and just see how everybody's made that pivot as well, and have just almost been pliable to the current pandemic.
Yeah, and something that we're also interested to kind of hear about from you, and we're going to start really soon, and maybe with you just introducing yourself, but we're really interested to hear how people have now totally changed the way that they consume art. Lockdown has changed that for everyone. It's pushed everyone online, and now that the world is kind of going back to normal, I do think that we're still going to experience second waves, etc. But now that the world is kind of moving into normality and the economies are opening up, people have been open to new realities. They're consuming differently. The expectation is different, and each of you work in a very, very prized field, entertainment. People turn to entertainment. We saw people turning to Netflix, people turning to music, online streams, all of those kind of things. And so we're really interested to hear from you. So we'll start by you introducing yourself. Maybe say, hi, I do
X, Y,
and and let's start with Shane.
Cool. Hey, my name's Shane Cooper. I'm a bass player, composer, producer. I work in the jazz field, the electronic music field, as well as composing music for film and theater and various things like that. So if it's sound related and music related, I'm interested in it.
Mishka?
I am Mishka Partipal, and I'm an actress. I mostly do TV and film, no theater acting for me. Both on a local level and an international level.
Amazing. Yeah.
Cool. I'm Chad Simon, singer, songwriter, and entertainment personality. I also do have a music business at Handles Bookings and pretty much a music agency. And I'd like to think I'm a multifaceted creative, like my friends on this call. So thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure. I think, Chad, maybe let's start with you. We saw you having to pivot very quickly into lockdown. Maybe some of the things that had to change for you, and what are the things that got cut immediately?
So to answer your question, the first thing that got cut was live performances in terms of in a venue with an audience and I'll speak in twofold. One being from our business side, that has a decent amount of success within corporate and destination weddings, which is 80% of our revenue, that automatically disappeared. So from 80 to 0% for that factor. Personally speaking, being on stage is also a massive part of my revenue gone. So I think, you know, you get in these, often in these times of tribulation and change, you know, you get time and you get to wake up. And I think you get to look at everything in a completely different view, because I find that it's so easy to be in the, you know, in the kind of hamster wheel of working and gigging and doing shows and doing that. And you stop looking up, and, you know, and I think lockdown has given me personally the opportunity to do so. So firstly, that was taken away. And that's quite a serious thing, because it's income and revenue.
Yeah.
Yo, that's
In
crazy.
terms of the pivot, I think I also, personally speaking, I realized that I was also sitting on certain parts of my skill set that I just didn't have time to access and plug away at. And I think that period of us being at home opened it up for me. And now I have a radio show on Good Hope FM on Saturdays and Sundays. And I've been hosting one or two live stream entertainment ventures, and also created a digital music show called The DNA with one or two brands during this time, and that launches pretty soon as well. So I think, you know, I've also just started writing for an online magazine. So I'm like, I'm awake, you know? and I think it's not a case of, you know, I wasn't interested in these things before. It's just literally, I've realized the difference between time and minds, and actually having the mind space.
Right.
They're two different things, you know. And I had time, because there's 24 hours in a day, but I just didn't have the headspace and mind, you know, I think the capabilities to do so.
Yeah, so you're kind of like forced to use that mind space now. Because everything else was cut off, and you accessed it now, obviously.
That's something we totally relate to. But I think, and I know Sean kind of directly, you know, you can directly speak into this, but maybe Mishka, how did stuff change for you?
I rely also predominantly on international work. You know, South Africa is like the new hub of making film and TV, whether it's European or American. And I just have that look that kind of fits into that universal market space. So I had a few shoots lined up for April and completely cut out. Obviously, people weren't allowed in the country. So I haven't been doing anything during this time except for writing. I've been wanting to get into directing for a very long time. So like Chad, it's like forced me to unlock other skill sets of mine. Like I said, I've been wanting to direct for a very long time, and it's forced me to kind of write my own screenplays during this time. But it's still, you know, film is still, we really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you romance and you get to set and you can't do kissing scenes. You can't hug someone. You can't show that affection and emotion that is so authentic and true to filmmaking, because that's what you're doing in film. You're showcasing real life, and you can't do that anymore. So I don't know what's in store for the film industry specifically.
Amazing.
Sheesh, eh?
You should. I first of all, just do the writing thing. Get into the directing.
I think I must apologize first. Sorry, I missaid your name, Shane.
It's okay.
But I don't know how I did that. But anyway, I know you were also doing something really interesting. Chad, obviously you were gigging, you know, you had a very packed schedule, stuff. It was maybe the floor came from under you. It almost felt like that was taken away. How did you have to pivot?
Well, I think Chad, his situation is very similar to mine. What happened was straight after the first address by the president, it just spiraled. And I love how you guys said it was, sometimes daily, sometimes hourly, just having to come up with massive, solutions. And so I lost like 6 tours in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
And my regular kind of yearly schedule is built up of a balance of local work, both as a sort of leader of projects and as a sideman, someone who is hired for either production work or as a bass player. And this year was going to be predominantly overseas work. Of those 6 tours, I think half of, 2 of them were South African, 4 of them were international. And they were just like, the floor just pulled out from underneath me. But instead of sort of letting the weight of that like get me down, as soon as it happened, I went into like immediate creative mode as a way to, 1, like cope with the stress of it, and 2, just keep the energy that I would have been putting into those projects and those tours directed at something positive with some sort of outcome, even if it wasn't an equivalent outcome. So I took that, because I was about to get ready for a next tour, and that involves like rehearsing, maybe some composing, all sorts of really interesting things. So I took that energy and I reached out to a bunch of people to do what I called quarantine collabs, and that was at the beginning of the lockdown. So the first series was just with some dancers. I'd been wanting to work more closely with dancers directly, as well, as opposed to like part of larger productions and things. So I reached out, and through that managed to connect with a bunch of dancers who come from different disciplines, who we made stuff remotely, just using cell phone footage and things like that. And I was able to like challenge myself to come up with new compositions based on ideas that they sent me, and keep it very open. So I was consumed with creative work the whole time, which was really, really great for me to just manage the experience, and then from that, I segued into the Quarantine Collabs music series and reached out to a bunch of people I knew and collaborated with those guys. I put out a couple of EPs on Bandcamp that was sort of a collection of those works, and some other small songs that I created as well at home that was kind of a reflection of my jazz and electronic work. And all of that sort of enabled me to also keep connected with the audiences, and also for me, like, just communicate with my audiences that may not know how severely this hit the arts sector. It was a way to say, hey guys, like, just think about the artists you follow. I'm only one of a much larger ecosystem. And it's important for you to try to support artists directly in this time. Of course, all the streaming services and stuff are great, but also as much as you can, reach out directly to artists on platforms like Bandcamp, or even if they're offering things on their website and stuff, just to connect with them, not only in terms of like supporting their output and their merchandise and craft, but also like words, So I had a lot of people just reaching out to me in the DMs and stuff with words of encouragement and support. And that for me was like the biggest currency, actually, because you realize how we know how important art is to people in their lives, because I'm a consumer of art, I'm a supporter of art, but when you actually hear people take the time to send you a message, that really counts for so much more than a few dollars. Do you know what I mean? In a lot of ways, that fueled me. And so from that was kind of my initial response, was to create small projects with quick turnaround, and as opposed to my usual modus operandi is a lot more, it's like longer form things that take a lot more, finesse and a lot of time to really shape it and get it into like what I consider real publishable quality. With this, I was like, let me engage in things that are quick and I can push ideas fast and just get them out. So they weren't available on all platforms. And from that, I've now begun the next phase, which for me is like the longer form project. So I'm returning to my bands, Mabuta, Card on Spokes, various other projects where I work more as a collaborator, and working on stuff that will effectively be publishable by the end of the year or in 2021. So now I'm in like the prepare for opening up phase. It's hard to know exactly when things will be open or what kind of normal we'll be back in the first phase, because as the economy opens up, performance space and stuff will still take a long time to open up. And also just hearing the fellow artists here speaking about their own projections and things like that. It's crazy to think about the kind of spaces we normally play in, or little rooms where even if those open up, we'll probably be allowed like 20 people spaced out, and that's not really like a viable way to cover the costs that are you know, part and parcel of performing, and rental and all of the staff that come into that. So there's going to be a lot more problem solving to come as things open up. I'm seeing my friends in Europe and stuff start to play little outdoor festivals in the European summer, with big spaced out areas where people have their, you know, required space between their chairs and things, and it's starting to look good. But South Africa's its own, you know, ecosystem. It's going to be affected differently to the first world. So I can't take too much from how those guys are recovering from the pandemic. It's going to be a different story here. So I'm trying to stay positive and keep working on these long form projects so that I basically have product in folders, in Dropbox folders, ready to send to promoters. And as I can kind of like grab onto what I think is going to be a viable time to perform, I'm ready. That's the main thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I think there were two things that I took from what you were saying, and I think what we can maybe just engage on now is number one, kind of giving yourself little projects and managing your output. And then number two, bringing people along for the journey, your audience. I was specifically following you guys during the lockdown period. And I know, Shane, I bought your EPs and I bought tickets to your show, and I watched that show a few times. And Chad, you know, engaging also in what you're doing. Mishka, can you tell us, in terms of your output, I know you've wanted to direct. Did you give yourself little, just say, okay, I want to finish this or this by the time lockdown is done? And how did you bring your audience along?
Well, so last year I did a film that I wrote and I directed, and it was all greenlit and ready to go for marketing and distributing in March. And I was ready to start like submitting to film festivals. And the first big one was the deadline that came up was Cannes. And then I think like 2 weeks later, got cancelled.
Wow.
So every platform that I've wanted to showcase my film on, I can't. All film festivals have been shut down. And yes, some of them are running online, but there's a huge risk with online film festivals for pirating at this point, especially when your film's so new. Yeah, so I have been trying to play with the idea of possibly releasing it on Vimeo for everybody to watch, but I haven't really decided yet. I mean, Vimeo doesn't have the clout that I need to push my career as a director. It needs to premiere, it needs to showcase at a reputable film festival. I can't even have it at Durban Film Festival because that's not happening. So yeah,
wow, it's a total.
I'm still thinking, I'm still deciding where to go, what to do, what's the right move, and trying to be very calculated about everything because I don't want to shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah.
Sure. I
can connect to that. Sorry, Mario. No, I can connect to that because you want to make informed decisions, but how do you make an informed decision when we cannot see, you know, there's an unforeseeable future until the end of the year or into next year or you know what I mean? So like you have this feeling of like, I'd really like to put this work out there because I feel like there's this hourglass, the subconscious hourglass also that's kind of running to when you want to get things out there, but you also wanted to get the best possible shot in terms of the platform. So it's always that kind of like, you know, where and when do I place it? So I get that.
Definitely.
I do feel people though are a little bit more lenient, especially on the consumer side in terms of how they're consuming now. Like I don't feel they want to put too much pressure on us as artists to do it like we did it in the past. And I do feel like how they consume is a little bit more with empathy in terms of they don't expect it to be of a certain not standard, but on a certain platform, as you say, or premiered at a premier festival. And I kind of, people are intuitive and they're intelligent in that sense where they know, okay, we are in lockdown, it can't possibly be premiered at a festival. so this is what we're getting, and we appreciate that, and we're going to actually stand and support it more. But that's just my 2 cents. I really don't know. I'm not like trying to push people into like work and like and then it flops. But like, I really get it. It's such a like an anomaly, and it's just so like, how do we make informed decisions without information of the future? That's my question. Like, what do you think like the future is going to look like now that we've sort of been stretched out? Our capacities have been stretched in new ways. Our creative juices have been stretched in new ways. What do you think, without taking into like account the COVID and its sort of trajectory and how it looks? Just like personally, how do you think your career is going to look like in the next few months? Let's start with Chad. I feel like you got something to say.
I always have something to say. So I think, you know, for me, I think shows are always going to be live streamed now. I feel like it's going to become a prerequisite, even when people are allowed into the venue. So the near future, I see exclusivity on being in the venue, obviously with social distancing, and live stream at a different cost.
Yeah.
So a more affordable option to watch a live stream. And if you're in the room, if you're one of those 20 people, you really like, you know, you're in. So I feel like that's gonna be the way forward for intimate shows, in my opinion. From a consumer perspective on music, I think everything will remain the same. I've seen streams go up on the songs that we have out there, because people are obviously listening more. I do think, to your point, Mario, of people being more lenient, aesthetically, I've noticed that people are kind of okay now with things happening at home. Like, you know, like they don't expect a certain level of content creation, because they know that we are supposed to be at home. So I just think there's going to be a lot more leniency. Also, I do feel like because everything is narrowed down, there's quite a bit of oversaturation within, especially like the live stream side, I've noticed, because people have like 15 options every like Friday and Saturday night to stream a show. So I think it's interesting. I can't see the exact answer, but I do. I mean, that's my thoughts.
Amazing.
I know Shane wants to say something.
I agree with what Chad's saying. Like, the thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around now is exactly that oversaturation, just because there've been so many wonderful promoters and film crews and stuff who've gotten together in this like immediate problem solving burst that happened over the last few months, doing live stream sessions of jazz, DJs, rock bands, like the whole thing, comedians and stuff, and it's been amazing. But now for myself as a consumer, I'm also like, I get to the Friday nights and there's still a bunch of, you know, these jazz gigs I want to watch. Now there's the National Arts Festival, there's a lot of comedy I still want to catch up on, plus there's loads of cool stuff on YouTube and Netflix and everything. So there's no way, and South Africa as well is you know, it's hard to say how many consumers will get behind buying tickets for live streams and stuff at this point, because it is such a new thing. But I'm hoping the culture will grow, and through all the artists sharing their own live stream outputs, the culture will grow. Whether that will effectively, like, you know, really make a big dent in the revenue that we've all lost as performing artists from live shows, it's yet to be seen. I like the idea that Chad's saying, that the kind of future will be a hybrid of live streams and very limited intimate shows and stuff. I think that'd be amazing. I, for myself, would love to be able to attend like those, like I'll be first to buy a ticket when there are these little live shows. We've got the social distancing and stuff, you know. Maybe outside is something that's also going to be more viable to get like slightly bigger numbers and that sort of thing. But I do feel like there won't be any real normality, or like sense of normality in terms of live performance spaces for around 8 to 9 months. And that's, I mean, I'm certainly no specialist in anything to do with these situations, but that's my feeling. Like, I don't think come summer, they're going to be like, cool, here's festivals, like go for it. It's really going to be a rough period, you know? So it's essential that artists like are engaged in problem solving. And a lot of my friends are really like old school musicians. They play an instrument and they don't have like a digital version of their work, because they've been you know, whether it's playing in orchestras or jazz musicians, and they're really like old school. It's a saxophone in a case and you drive to the gig and you play. So I'm encouraging everyone to kind of digitize as much as they can within their means, if they have access to equipment or if they can get some stuff, and just find ways to level up, because it helps. Even if you can just get some online teaching and all sorts of things, it's an important time for people to expand their brand, expand their work, expand their knowledge. At the same time, like all the tech, everything's leveling up. I mean, these Zoom things, all this stuff is amazing, you know, so we're all in it together. And a lot of new ideas will come out of it. And I think it's important to also, you know, reflect on times when there have been immense hardships in the world, and often a lot of great art comes out of that. And not that I would wish hardship on any artist or anyone for that matter, but I think through times of trials and tribulations, a lot of really potent work comes out of it, because people are feeling so intensely, and that's channeled into the work. So my only silver lining in some of these challenges is that there will be a lot of profound work that comes out of it across all disciplines, you know?
I wanted to just touch on something that you said about brand building. And I think that's also one of the big challenges with Mishka, that we can relate to, maybe in a different way. You want to release your film at a festival that's worth something, that's going to catapult your career in a different way. And I think for us as MSIZI, totally different situation. But for when we went into lockdown, we knew that we had spent so much time and money on the MSIZI brand that we could not, for example, cut our prices in half, or start doing marketing and doing stuff that was totally, we couldn't do hard sell, because this was totally against what we'd built our brand up to be. And so we had to decide to pivot, that word, and for us that meant releasing in a few hours, like deciding on and releasing Happy Studio into the world, which is basically a platform, web development and brand design platform, where we can hard sell, and it's totally different, that people can relate to that without thinking about the MSIZI brand. And I guess for Mishka, it's like, for you, have you had any ideas on how you can release something totally different? It still builds your brand, but it's not decreasing or devaluing what you've built up, you know, in the last couple of years in your career?
For me, I haven't really thought of that. I'm not someone that posts a lot on social media, so I won't think, okay, I need to act. I haven't acted in such a long time. The acting bug is killing me. I need my audience. I need to show something, that I'm doing something, that I'm being creative. Like, I'm not like that. I've never been like that. So I haven't explored that option at all. I'm just like, I'm not working, and I'm okay with that. I will use this time to create movie scripts that I will develop later. Maybe I'll apply for funding, get my short form off the ground, and that sort of thing. It's more on a personal level, not really out there for people to see, because I don't feel like I need validation in that way, that, okay, I need to show my audience that I'm being creative, that I'm working, that they need to remember me. I just feel like they'll always remember me if they're my loyal fan and audience, if you know what I mean.
If you do the work.
I guess it's different for everyone according to what sphere you're in, you know. And then again, the question comes up, like, will our brands mean the same thing coming out of lockdown? These brands that we've really worked, our personal brands that we've really worked hard to establish in our different spheres. I know, Chad, for you, you really worked with a lot of people. You were seen and are seen as quite a big entertainment figure in Cape Town, and in different sectors. How do you feel that your personal brand has been or will be affected by this?
I think, you know, I always firstly believe that you make the decisions for yourself, and we are allowed to create the works for the perception. You know, in terms of how we are viewed, there are things I'm doing that I may not tell anyone about. The things I am doing that I'm not telling people about. But then there are things that I choose to you know, put out there for people to see. And I think it's those kind of choices, because you kind of, I always believe, steer your own ship And I don't feel pressured to do so. I do feel that I also just want to navigate and be at the forefront. As Shane said earlier, you want to be ready for when that thing happens. You want to be, oh wow, okay, yeah, let's chat to that guy, he's been doing something. Or and I guess it is different for within the film sphere versus music. It's a completely different thing, so I do understand what you're saying, Mishka, but like I think from our side, it's like there's this constant, like, I want to show people, look, I am doing more than being on stage, and I can also be on stage, and I think there's also another thing we didn't bring to the forefront, is that everyone has a different scenario and a different home situation, and some of us may have kids, some of us under pressure to provide also with this, with an immense pressure. And I've seen some of my friends make like some, questionable decisions based on, I have to make this money right now. But I also get that,
Absolutely.
I do have a daughter, and I get, like, you want to provide for your home, you want to provide for your family. And there's that balance between, and I realized during lockdown, someone asked me, you often get the question, what has been the biggest challenge in your career? And I realized that it was drawing the fine line between providing and doing things that make sense for what I represent and my brand. So I've said no to lots of things. And sometimes people in business would be like, you said no to that, but it's money. And I'm like, but they'll be like, but you need money right now. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it just doesn't sit right with my values or so, like, there's so many hard decisions we have to make, but I always believe that we are in control of what we choose to put out there or not.
Yeah. I love these different perspectives. Really appreciate it.
Really cool.
Shane, anything that you feel?
Any more input, Shane?
Not really sure. I think it is, I mean, just reflecting on how different it is for so many of my colleagues as well. And I personally don't have any kids, but just seeing the struggles that people go through when they have more mouths to feed and more people to look after. And it really is, it's overwhelming, all of this. So I think there is this need for a lot of people to, just take on certain things that they wouldn't necessarily want to do or associate with their brand or their kind of what they build into their kind of trajectory and stuff like that. So a lot of people are just doing whatever they can at this time, and some of it requires just a different kind of, I don't know. You've got to turn yourself inside out sometimes right now. So it's difficult. I'm thankful that I don't have a lot of kids at this time. It's just less to worry about in that immediate thing. So I don't know. I don't actually know where I'm going with this, but it is really tough. So I just acknowledging
it's
that
tough.
it's so different for everyone,
Yeah,
it is.
I think just moving on to the online space, that's where we kind of want to finish off with you guys. Obviously you have your careers and it's very different for each of us. We've established that. And I think for Mishka, I'd love to hear from you. You obviously very secure in what you're doing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you're doing acting for a specific reason. And also this means then that you're very sure of the fact that film, etc., will return to normal. Or at least or what
the filming as a whole, I won't say cinema if that's what you're referring to. I don't think cinema is going back. It's never going to be the same. Those 1,000 seats of cinemas is just not going to work anymore. And also, people don't realize how expensive cinema is. I mean, you go to your shopping center and it's $100, and then if you go to IMAX or
it's more
those, it's like 170 Rand per person. I'm sorry, but that is expensive. And then you want to take your whole family. If you have like an average family of 5, that's a lot of money.
Plus you can't sneak in sweets from you.
You know? And when you're on an online platform, you're just paying your 150 Rand subscription a month, or you're paying $150 to rent it off box office or whatever it is. It's so much more cost effective to do so.
Yeah.
So it is just going to be a little bit more simpler for people to just, watch things online. Just makes more sense now. Safer also.
Okay, I just want to intervene on that. The looking at the economy and where the rand's sitting in terms of, especially versus the euros coming in and the dollars and pounds coming into the country, when the film industry does open up again, do you foresee it opening up in an even bigger way, simply because of where it's going to take our economy a long time to get back to a great place? Not that it was in a great place, but I think, do you think because of that, because I found certain clients we had for 2021 are paying the full rates now while our rand is so bad versus, or it's easy for them. Do you think it's going to open up the film industry in that regard from a financial standpoint?
I don't know if that's going to bring in more money or not. To be honest, I know that I had booked a TV series at the end of last year, and second season was supposed to start shooting this year. That is not happening. I mean, our crews are just sitting here doing nothing, but the production head office is in LA or Toronto or wherever. So they're shifting a lot. They need to get this work done. Our country hasn't opened up yet. So what do? We're going to recast. We're going to shoot in a different country that is allowing us. So I say we're losing money. Well, for this year. Maybe next year it'll be different. Maybe next year it'll be better. I don't know. But this year, definitely, we are losing a lot of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think, no. I could probably ask some deeper questions, but I feel like, I don't want to take it there. I don't want to take it there. Okay, last question from my side.
Yeah.
How has this lockdown period made you rethink your value as like an artist or an entertainer? How has it made you see your value within the industry? Did it ever make you think like, am I supposed to be doing this for the rest of my life? Should I be doing this? Should I be learning a totally new skill? Should I now be becoming like a civil engineer that my mom told me to be when I would try to be a... Like, has it made you... Because like, these are the questions like you start asking yourself. Really questioning yourself. Like, am I supposed to be a recording artist? Am I supposed to be an actress? Like, should I diversify? Should I diversify and have like a little side Nyan thing that might develop into something? Or should I use my degree that my mom forced me to do? Like,
I don't know. I won't say it's a case of looking in the mirror and saying, should I be a singer, or should I be a songwriter, or should I be a recording artist? I think it's more a case of saying, have I been giving it all I've got? Have I actually been like giving it my all before lockdown? And now during lockdown, looking in the mirror saying, what more can I do for it? What more can I do outside of it? Where else can I find my joy? Where else can I also make money? Money is a real thing, like how else can I, and yes, it's harsh realities, because I've learned that there are certain things I was doing by default. That I could have been spending my time differently. And I was getting into the process and the routine and habit of that default. And it may have not been things I fully felt passionate about, but I always felt like I had to do this particular thing. So to answer your question, that's kind of how I felt about it, more looking like putting the writings on the wall and saying, actually, this that I put at priority 1 can move to number 3, but I actually want to grow this thing to number 2 and take that. So it was not stopping anything that I'm doing, but more a case of bringing in some new things.
Yeah, I guess.
For me, I think I've always wanted to write and direct, but I've always been afraid because I've reached a certain level of success as an actress, and then to make the move into directing and writing, it was something that was very scary for me. But the lockdown has made me so brave, and I've just kind of like jumped into it, and it's made me realize that I do have what it takes to make it as a director and a writer.
That's awesome.
Love it. Love.
Yeah, I really resonate with what both of you said, and for me, it's like it's also, yeah, it's been a chance to look at processes that I also like did by default and reflect on where I can optimize time, change focus into things that are more important, perhaps before, but certainly now, in like how to deal and how to adapt and shift. So, and also in terms of the fact that I was predominantly a performing artist for like most of the working year, and the rest of it was studio based and writing. Now I'm just in the studio like 24/7. So I've shifted a lot of my focus to there. I'm currently working on a bunch of projects, not only for my own, under my own name, but also for other vocalists and MCs and things like that. And so I'm a lot more focused on end products now rather than just sort of the performance ecosystem of the music business, which is product involved, but you're often promoting a product. And I mean, you attract a lot of people just because they're into live music. Now it's really like focusing on the product that's online, whether it's, live videos, streaming, albums and so on. So rethinking that. And so optimizing my time in the studio space and having a lot more like macro view stuff. So going, okay, what is my feeling for the marketability of this product? And there's a huge difference between the European market and the South African market, that's where I kind of play, less so in America and things like that. And so sort of my own predictions for how my own like authentic brands and craft will play out in the times to come, in the European festivals to come, when things perhaps return to some sort of semblance of normality again. So I'm focused on that. And so it's more like, because I have my own independent record label, so it's more like sitting in that position on a regular basis and zooming out and critiquing myself even more harshly than before. So critiquing myself as a kind of label manager and going, okay, man, like I really get that you're wanting to spend that much time on this very artistic part of it, but maybe you need to like spend more time on this and shape it in a certain way so that it's still authentic, but it's actually more marketable. And so it's just being like a little bit more business savvy in certain elements, observing where I could have been better in that department before, and trying to tighten it up and not compromise my own intentions and my integrity, because I still operate in a very like niche sphere, and I wouldn't want to just completely shift that, you know what I mean? And at the same time, also opening up collaborative things. So I'm looking at, because I've realized the power of, most of the recordings I've done in the past have always been traditional in the sense that we've been in the same room. Now a lot of people are collaborating remotely, so it's looking at how to strengthen those collaborations and not feel like it's just a sort of a watered down version of the old system. And so I'm expanding on that, like diving into it and working on some projects with international artists on collaborations who either have home studios of like decent quality or have access to affordable ones, because I can't just hire a studio in Europe at the EU rates, you know what I mean? So you've still got to be DIY about it, which is kind of everything I do is a little DIY. So it's expanding on that and like polishing things that are already, from a modus operandi of the old, so to speak, for me. And sure, but just give me a bit of the original question again, because I'm not sure if I've gone too far.
My question was just really, are you going back to that thing your mom said you should do? Or have really thought about, hey, am I supposed to be doing this? And I guess
so I mean, it's to finish off more specifically to that question. It's like, I'm very hard on myself, as I think all artists are, and I go through phases of just being elated and in the creation process, and then pulling back and being like ultra critical. And sometimes you can be overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation we're all in. And I've kind of set myself an end of 2021 target now, because
Yeah.
under normal circumstances, it was incredibly difficult to be a creative in South Africa because of the economic structures we're in, playing with a currency that is, you know, it struggles normally, and then also playing in an international market. I feel like coming from a third world country, you have to double down.
Yeah.
Really, you have to just be at it constantly. And the results you can yield from that kind of work ethic are fantastic, but you can't rest on your laurels. You have to gun it the whole time.
Yeah.
So now, knowing the challenge of this situation, you have to double down even further to like meet those same things that you would like to before, but in the new form of whatever that will become, you know? So my thing is like going for it, having those folders ready, having those plans ready for the 2021 season. And if I don't, because I'm giving it everything I got, if I can't pull that off at the end of 2021 to at least like a level that feels sustainable and I can kind of get back to my momentum, then I will actually consider a change. And it's not a negative thought. It is really like,
I think it's a good thought.
Where else could I take the passion and the creativity that I put into this craft, which is music, and apply it elsewhere? And for me, it would be, I have no idea now, but I would try to do it somewhere like NGO based or community based or something. That's my feeling now, but perhaps it would change in 6 months. I don't know. But something that would be equally stimulating and challenging with purpose, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, and again, it's not a negative thought. It's just like, that's the reality of the world we live in. You know, we've got so many people in across the world who've been through immense challenges and had to change careers like that. It's okay. It happens, you know?
Yeah. So basically it's like, Mom, I'm still doing my arts. Give me some time again. I think for me, thanks for being brave, all of you.
Yeah, everyone.
It's super brave to be able to stick to your guns and to be able to really get stuck into your craft and just be really, really consistent and really through it all. And that's a really, really big thing in the lockdown, in the pandemic, and in these uncertain times. It's just being super brave to stick to your guns. And just being friends and associates and affiliated with that is really, really cool, because it keeps us going as well as business people. Because we don't really even know, aren't even sure of like our futures, because a lot of what we do is based on what you guys do as creatives, as people who make the music, as people who are in the film industry. We'll be either producing or making the business side happen. And without the art, we also might not necessarily have the business. So it's like, for you guys to be brave means we can also be brave and also get stuck in. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the conversation.
Really appreciate it. I feel like there's so much more I want to say, but I'm not even going to open this now.
Thanks for.
Because wow, there is just so much to say and learn from each other, no matter what sphere we're in. From us, I know we have had to learn how to restructure our time, like all of you are saying. We've also had to be brave to make different decisions and be like, actually, this deserves 50% of our effort right now because it's going to yield this. And I'm someone who is a perfectionist and wants to give 100 in everything. And that's maybe robbed me before. So I think we're just learning how to be more productive and less precious, which is good. I think it's good.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Write that down. Productive and less precious.
Anyway, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for the talk.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All the best for the next few months going into 2021, and all the new ventures, whatever that may be, directing, writing, new online digital services, online streamings, online.
Acting tutorials online.
Oh my God, whatever that may be, whatever that may be, like, it's like all the best and like Godspeed.
Yeah. Thanks, friends.
Thank
We'll
you.
be in contact.
Thank you.
Cool. See you guys.
Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.
Ciao.